Back with you tonight on In Focus. The South African Revenue Service says 23 of its offices have reopened following a prolonged wage strike that began in May. Members of the Public Servant Association and the National Education, Health and Allied Workers Union are pushing for a 12% hike, while the Revenue Service is offering 1.5%, up from 1.2%. SARS added that 17 of its offices remain closed. The parties are expected to resume negotiations before the CCMA this Friday. Joining us now for an update on this and more is Assistant General Manager at the Public Servant Association, Reuben Maleka. Reuben, good evening, and thank you very much for your time. So it seems from what I'm seeing here that some of your members, or maybe not your members, but of other unions have decided to go back to work. Hence, some of the offices are open and are able to operate. Is that on agreement?
Yeah, thank you very much, Thabo. Yeah, in fact, what happened is that on the 20th of July, we handed over a memorandum to the president at the union building. And upon handing over the memorandum, the understanding was that we would retreat and give the president enough time to reflect on the memorandum. We gave that until the 1st of August, which was this Monday. And obviously on Monday, we got invitation from SARS that they would want to meet with us following that particular handover of the memorandum. We, in fact, met with SARS this afternoon. We had a discussion about how we can unlock the negotiations and take these negotiations to conclusion. And from the indications is that SARS is looking at various options from in order to come up with an offer that we can be able to consider, because we have already rejected the 1.5%. It's not something that is being considered. Therefore, we at the moment, we will be also meeting with the CCMA on Friday. The objectives for meeting on Friday is to look at, the picketing rules in different workstations. As you recall, the previous strike action we had approved from CCMA to picket at certain workplaces, not all of them. So we have extended the mandate to have a full picket and strikes in all SARS offices, and that particular meeting with the CCMA to conclude on those particular rules in all workplaces would be this Friday. So, however, we are hopeful that tomorrow we'll get a response from SARS as to how they would want to resolve the matter.
So you're pushing for quite a big wage hike there at SARS. Are you hopeful that you will still be getting, I suppose, a wage hike in the range of 12%?
Look, it's part of negotiations. We started at 12%, and we expect that as we go along through the negotiations, we will also have to, come up to a point where we have a settlement range. And we can only move to a settlement range when there's also some seriousness from the side of the employer, which is SARS, if they can also indicate that they are willing to settle and indicate where we must meet them. We will be able to move from 12%, and we expect that also the same thing will happen from SARS, that they will move from 1.5%. So it's not that we are rigid from 12%, although we understand that the inflation, the current inflation would reach above 8% come the end of the year. So all these factors influence our movements, and also the fact that the cost of living in general is too high for everyone, including us as employees of SARS. So generally speaking, one would consider that when you consider any increase in terms of adjustment in this current financial year, you must factor many other factors such as petrol, such as affordability, transport, medical. All those influence the range at which we are going to settle.
Now, of course, Reuben, there have been some other developments in the public sector wage bill. It was initially reported that you were demanding a 10% hike for public servants, which, of course, was rejected by government, and 2% was proposed. Where is that sitting now?
Yeah, today we obviously, as you may be aware, that we have reached a deadlock on the 7th of July, and the PSA on the 8th of July we declared a dispute in the PSCBC. The matter was set down for conciliation today on the 3rd, and upon arriving there, same delaying tactics of the employer. You recall last year when we declared a dispute, they also raised what is called point in limine, trying to delay the matter. The same tactic today to say that no, they believe the PSA dispute is premature. However, the same thing happened and the ruling was in our favor last year. So the commissioner who was conciliating gave them until the 10th to give reasons why they are saying the matter is premature. And by the 19th, we should have a ruling. And we hope by that time, if there is no progress in terms of this 2%, we would have to consider that public servants in general would have a license now to also join the streets, as we have seen with SARS.
So at this particular point, you are still at work, haven't joined the streets?
At this point in time, the SARS strike is being suspended, obviously with the intention that the president would have intervened, and that's why the meeting has been called to discuss further in SARS. But on the part of public service, there's not been any movement. The employees still stuck at 2%. Unions, all of us, we are at 6.5%, which is a settlement range that we are saying, look, out of everything we are compromising, we want to settle. We want to settle at 6.5%. And still, the employees still stuck at 2%. That is why the PSS moved, because, we should have actually concluded this particular round of negotiations by 30 June and backdated to 1 April this year. However, we are already in August, and the attitude of the employees that they are not going to backdate it. As we are going to conclude it, whether in November, they will not backdate it. So if any of us would delay this process by not declaring a dispute, we are actually going to be disadvantaging our own members, because the employer would not be able to rush. The employer is not in a rush, because for them, as long as they drag this process out, then it's more beneficial, because they are going to come up with this tactic of saying you get less or you get more, but not backdated. So we need to, as much as possible, to push the employer. Hence, the PSA moved swiftly to declare dispute, so that we don't find ourselves being compromised by a situation where they're going to say get less with backdate or get more with no backdate. So we want to conclude this particular negotiations as soon as possible. Workers are suffering. Workers are unable to even afford to go to work. Transport cost is too high. So the sooner we resolve on these particular negotiations, the better for public servants to be able to afford.
Reuben Maleka, appreciate your time. Thanks so much for coming on tonight. Reuben Maleka, they're giving us an update on two of those matters. One at SARS, and one, of course, which has got to do with the public servants wage bill, negotiations that are currently going on. Still